how do I move from the planning to the actual execution on some of the plans that I have in my head. Lately, I've come to realize that my life is like an experiment. I used to fear failing for so long. I have really had a hard time on my home budget. I've felt the expense. My intention of sharing some of these things on this channel is so people, I don't know if it's just me, but guys, like money, I don't know if it's just government not paying, but you people, there's no money in the economy. So I've really been feeling the financial strain this past month. Hi, welcome to Personal Finance and Coffee Podcast. I'm Gabriela, and on this channel I talk about money and personal finance and how do we break this cycle of making the money and then 5 years later, 10 years later, we're like, where did all my money go? So the process of managing the money we make, making it grow, making decisions on how to budget, places to invest the money so that it can grow. This is what we talk about on this channel. But today we're having our October monthly reset. That's why I have my coffee. So when I was thinking about the idea of this name, in my mind I was like, we can have sections where it's a bit less personal finance intense. Of course, I'll always have bits and pieces here, but today we're having our October monthly reset. So let's jump into it. I won't hold my cup the whole episode here, but I just thought it would be a nice change for an intro. Let's get into the episode. You guys, October is here. I can't believe this. Now, last month, or the month of September, you guys, I entered September with big goals. I had intentions. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I can't explain. Like last month, the month of September, didn't quite go according to plan. Let me be honest. It was just one of those months where my energy levels dropped. You know how you know what you have to do, but you're just not doing it. You just find yourself procrastinating. Like, I have the plan, guys. I've laid it out. I know, Gabi, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. But I just didn't feel like doing it. So I've been trying to get through this process of how do I move from the planning to the actual execution on some of the plans that I have in my head. So I don't know if I'm the only one, guys. If you face this challenge, if you overcome it, what do you guys do? Please leave a comment in the description below. So that is just an overall how last month went. So in the monthly reset for October, this is the idea that I have. I was thinking that maybe I can have like an agenda of some of the things that I'm going to go through. And one of the things that I want to do is I want to start like reflecting on how the previous month went. I want to start reflecting on how the previous month went and looking at what worked, what didn't work, and then also looking at like what did I find joyful. Like, not to only look at, okay, Gabi, you need to do this, like to find some joy in it and give myself a pat on the back. You guys, like, not everything works, but some things do work, and we need to be able to recognize that and be grateful for them. So that is the reflection part. That's the first thing. And then the second thing I'd like to do is what are some of the changes that I want to make for October. Lately, I've come to realize that my life is like an experiment. I used to fear failing for so long, but now I'm like, okay, Gabi, you're trying. Some won't work, and when it doesn't work, I won't lie, it still hurts. You know, you're like, oh, you know, like, what are people thinking? This doesn't look good, but I'm looking at these things as an experiment. So there are things that I tried last month that you guys, they didn't work. So what are the changes that I would like to try for October? And the third thing that I want to do, as usual, is my money routine, budgeting for the next month, planning out how the month will go, and also making adjustments based on the lessons I learned from September. That is what today's episode is going to be about. Let me start with the reflection. Now, in the month of September, kids were on holiday. Now, I really underestimated the consumption of food at home. You know, I have an episode where I talked about how I make my grocery list for the month and like for the non-perishables and home consumables, and then how I also look at the weekly shopping and I kind of make a list, like an estimate of what I'll be buying every week. You people, I underestimated it. And when the children are on holiday, it means that I have a full-time nanny with them at home. So I have really had a hard time on my home budget. I've felt the expense. It has been higher than I anticipated. So it has kind of thrown me off. So that system for me didn't work. So like at this point, like the house is like empty because, you know, and it's been stressful. I've really felt stressed over that. And that's a lesson for me to learn, that the next time the children are on holiday, I need to keep in mind that the consumption of home items is going to increase. I know it sounds obvious, but I don't know. For me, that one, like, I just missed it. Let me be honest. So that is one of the things that didn't work in September. Now, another thing that didn't work in September is the way that I planned. When I talk about the way that I planned, there are things I wanted to do in the month, like going forward, in terms of the channel, in terms of launching maybe coaching calls and weekly calls. In terms of the business aspect, there are things I wanted to start doing. And I made the plan, but I didn't do. So there's a missing link that I have to kind of figure out. So I'm just sharing with you openly, so that if this is something you're struggling with, maybe you can pick a thing or two. I don't know. Guys, I am not perfect. I am only human. And my intention of sharing some of these things on this channel is so that perhaps it will help one person. Perhaps you may suddenly feel like, okay, I'm not alone. Maybe you've also been feeling this way. But anyway, that's what didn't work for me in the month of September. Now, another thing that didn't work for me in the month of September, I really struggled posting content because and normally I record videos at home. So when the children are on holiday, they are home all the time. So I find that finding like the silence in the house, and it's really not easy. So finding another place where I can record content that you're comfortable in, you know, it's kind of weird talking, you know, like just record. Okay, I feel uncomfortable when like the people watching me. So perhaps it's an excuse, but anyway, that's what I struggled with. Maybe I'll start kind of like finding a way of like batch recording, and yeah, anyway, I just need to work on that. That's what didn't work. So what am I going to change for the month of October? This is why I make monthly resets, because when I feel like, okay, last month this didn't work, like right now in my mind I'm like, okay, Gabby, this is a fresh slate. That was last month, it didn't work, you learned your lessons. Now come October, I'm excited again, and I'm renewing my intentions and to try again, because the whole point is to keep trying until something works. Because if I don't try, then I'll simply stay where I've been. So what am I changing? In the month of October, I changed my planner, how I set it up. How you feel like, okay, I want to do this, and then I want to do this, and then I want to do this. There's so many things on your mind, but I had so many things on my mind, but I wasn't making progress on them because they were like all over the place. So this month of October, I want to try having one focus. Like, okay, I actually made an episode about this. There's a book that I reviewed called The 4 Disciplines of Execution, and I'm going to try it again. I'm going to have one focus. I want to try this again and I see, because sometimes you learn a lesson and then over time you try it works, and then you drift away. So I'm trying to come back to the principles that I've learned. Like, I want to try it again. So in this month, I want to have one focus. That does not mean that I'm going to let everything go. No, at the back of my mind, I'm like, if I can get this one thing done before December, just one thing, yeah, that would be like a highlight for me. So I want to try that version instead of telling myself I want to declutter the house, I want to launch a budget template, I want to start coaching calls, I want to, like, instead of saying all those things, because each goal that we have has action steps, and then we have lessons, like a learning curve to learn how to get towards that goal. And amidst all that, we have to work, we have family, we have social life. So it's really unrealistic of me to think that I'm going to do all these things. So I want to try this version, and I see how it works in October. I'll give you feedback at the end of October. Fingers crossed. Let's hope this goes better than September. But anyway, that's what I want to try. So I've set up my new planner. I want to have one focus. Something else that I want to try in October is having an inbox. You know how you have so many things coming at you? you're at work and maybe there's this that comes up, and then you have a report to make, and then a call to make, and then in your personal life maybe there's a function you have to attend, you need to buy a new dress, and then at home there's an item that you need to buy, the children have homework, and then there's project. Like, we have so much to do, and I've been struggling with, where do I organize this properly in my head? Like, I've tried apps, I've tried Notion and what, so I have a planner. So what the planner helps me do is organize on a day-to-day basis. Like, what am I going to do today? But what I've not been consistent with is having like a brain dump of like one place where I write the things that are coming at me, and then I process them once a week. So it's also something else that I would want to get more consistent with, to organize the things in my head. Like, people just get exhausted mentally, and then you have anxiety of like, have I forgotten something? So that's something I want to try with this new setup also of my planner. And then when it comes to how I track my time, so for the past few months I've been monitoring how I spend my time based on the categories of life. So I would have my work at office, and then I'd have my business, and then I would have family, like me time that I spend alone, like working on my things, reading a book, or hobbies, or just me time. And then I would also have time on errands, things that I'm doing, on housework. Then I would also have time spent on transport. Like, I'll just keep tracking. Oh, from 1 to 2 I've been doing this, and it really helps me keep aware of how I'm spending my time. It minimizes the chances of, oh, what have I just done in the past 5 hours or 2 hours. So anyway, it helps me that way. I noticed that when I would track my time according to the categories, at the end of the month, at the end of the week, I would look at this and I'd say, okay, I spent this much time sleeping, I spent this much time at work, I spent this much time alone or with my family or my friends. And then what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to me. So I noticed that maybe, okay, like, yeah, courtesy of YouTube, I was watching different YouTube channels, trying to find a way that makes sense for me to track my time. So I'm going to experiment with tracking time based on projects. So if working on YouTube is a project that I have, how many hours in a week? You guys, we all have 168 hours per week. So the question is, if my goal is to have a YouTube video out every week, how much time am I spending to make this content? Because I have to prepare for it, I have to record it, I have to edit it, I have to write the captions, timestamp it, upload it, all those things. And so I'm asking myself, how much time am I spending on the project of YouTube? So if the month ends or if the week ends and I notice that I have less upload time, and then I look at how much time I've spent, I think there's a correlation. Anyway, that's an experiment that I have. So to track time based on the projects that I want to accomplish by the end of the month. So yeah, that is the intention that I have. I'm going to experiment with that. What I want to see is that when I am assessing the time, will it also help me be more intentional on how I spend my time? Those are the questions that I'm having in my head. I'm just like, guys, I'm just like giving you like a brain, yeah, like what's on my mind. So those are ideas that I want to experiment with. So I'm going to list the projects and then I monitor them. So you might be wondering, how do you track what you're doing every time? In my planner, I have sections where I put the time. It's in 30-minute blocks. So I just try to be intentional that every time I remember, I just write. If time goes by and I'm busy, I'll come back and write what I remember. It doesn't have to be perfect. The point of this is to just be intentional about keeping track, being more aware. So what I've been doing, I see some loopholes, so I just want to try this version. Now the next step is when it comes to the budget. This I've been through it so many times. Now, when it's the last week of the month, one of the first things that I do is I make my budget. You people, I don't know if it's just me, but guys, money, I don't know if it's just government not paying, but you people, there's no money in the economy. So I've really been feeling the financial strain this past month. That aside, I make my budget. Now, when I started budgeting, I used to be rigid with it, of like, if it's this amount per month, this is where it goes. January, February, same budget. But now I've come to like, I'm more comfortable with understanding that life happens and different months have different situations. So I'm a bit more flexible. So before the month begins, I make the budget, and then I go ahead and pick out what is absolutely essential, especially in seasons like now where we've not been paid, where the money in the economy is a bit scarce, because now that means that you're pulling from your emergency fund, you're pulling from your savings. So you don't want to pull money from your savings for luxuries. So I look at what is essential, what is absolutely necessary, and then that is what I prepare for the month ahead. So this is after I make my budget. That's the first step. I've been through all this. This is literally me repeating. I'm going to go through my budget, and then after I go through my budget, I'm going to pay the bills that I have to pay, and then kids have gone back to school, so school fees, sinking fund, you know. So each month usually we allocate a certain amount of money towards school fees. Sometimes by the time the term begins, maybe we've not accumulated that much, so we have to source the money from somewhere else. But we know that the income from October, when it comes from November and December, is going to pay back where we have picked that money from, because in the budget we've allocated money every month towards school fees. So those are the things that I'm going to go through. Then of course I'm going to make my grocery list for the monthly shopping, the consumables. And then, yeah, of course, now that is going to be huge this month, given how September went. I'm starting from scratch. So I'm going to go through my monthly budget. And once I'm done with all that, then I'll kind of feel like, okay, I'm composed and I'm ready to start October. So if you found this content valuable, if you found it interesting, please share in the comments. What do you guys do? Like, how do you go through this? Are these some of the questions that you've been asking yourself? If you have any answers to some of my dilemmas, your input is very welcome. We have so many new subscribers. Thank you so much for coming to this channel. Thank you for subscribing. And if you're watching and you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.